Hello, hello. Welcome back to the new tribe. I did not abandon the podcast. Life has been going 4,000 miles a minute, approximately. And so I just had to let my head spin for a while before I could get oriented again and sit down and have a chat with y'all. And today we have the man behind the scenes, Mr. Carey.
Mr. Carey. Wow.
Zach. Zach is our producer and my partner in all of the life adventures. And now in front of the camera, behind the mic. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's pretty exciting.
Don't mess up or you won't be invited back.
I'll do my best, I promise. I always put in my best effort. But it should be fun, and it's something I've been looking forward to. I've never really sat behind a camera, but I'm ready to dive into it. So thank you.
Let's start with Carey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you learn something new, and
We learned something new at the same time.
We did. I had no idea. Took the family back to Canada last September, and we're sitting on the farm, and my mom just shares with us why she named me Zachary. It's to either go with the first name as Zach or use the last bit of Zachary, Carey, and I had no idea. I had absolutely zero idea, and Scarlett is all over it now. She calls me Carey all the time.
Almost exclusively.
Yeah, so it's been fun, but it seems to stick.
Yeah. I like to think of Carey as your alter ego.
Yeah. It's the one that now watches anime, remember?
Oh, yeah. The boys have been getting you into anime.
Yeah.
Man, that must kind of suck that you have to do something you don't want to do just to get the kids to like you more.
Yeah. It's not that bad, though. I watched a couple episodes of one. It's okay. But what they say does not match closed captioning, so it's a little confusing. So I have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, I don't think anime is meant to match the sound.
No, it's a little different.
I don't know.
The opening credits are banging, though. It's pretty interesting. They sing about something. I have no idea what they're talking about, but it's...
I came in here the other day and they were watching one and the kid was like... Well, first of all, it was like a bunch of teenagers. They were in high school. But all the characters looked like white people and I was like...
Oh, yeah.
This is confusing to me. But they were having like a Groundhog Day thing where he kept waking up and living the same day.
A little bit of repetition, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. But it sucked me in for a minute.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Now you're somewhat part of it.
Now we're Animaniacs.
Yeah, this whole house is.
I mean, no.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to sit down and chat with you on the New Tribe podcast.
Sort of partially yours, too. Oh, also, thank you for these super cool mugs that you had made for us. The New Tribe with our logo, and then on the back it says, "Go with love," and I love that. If anyone would like to order one, we're going to get a website. Are we doing that?
Yes. So everybody keep your eyes out for a website. I'm in the process of building one. And that'll give us an opportunity to interact with a number of different things that the New Tribe is trying to incorporate. It'll definitely talk about the medicine and the ceremony space. So if you do find yourself in Houston, you will know how to look us up to setting up any potential conversations about the medicine. And also nutrition or any other things that this...
Yeah, and we'll just be sharing the other classes and things that we're doing.
Yeah, but in the meantime, just keep an eye out for the information in the show notes and following us on Instagram. So we're back from Greece.
Nobody even knew we were going to Greece.
Well, I'm pretty sure you posted a lot of things online. Your Instagram story showed us in Greece.
I know, but we're back on the podcast for the first time since before even training. We haven't recorded since February.
It's been a minute.
Sorry about that, guys.
We had to get the creative juices going. We had to build up some stories. We got lots from travels, from just life. We are, as always, busy. Lots of moving pieces. And finally, we had some time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are here sitting in the living room when we should be actually in Canada, but we're not. We're back home.
We spent the whole day in the airport yesterday trying to go to Canada, but instead we just spent 8 hours of a Thursday hanging around the airport. So that was good times.
At least you got to avoid the cold weather. It snowed on Saturday in Calgary, so her excitement for the trip went...
I was excited to go and see your family and friends.
Yes.
I was not excited to unpack my cold weather clothes so that I could pack to go be miserable in the cold weather, because this is my time of year. I love the heat and I love the sunshine, and I feel like I have been traveling into the cold. And I feel like it's been a really long winter, so I'm just soaking in the sun. So that was kind of tough, the idea of mentally preparing to go somewhere where it's possibly going to snow on us.
Yeah, and we'll probably dive more into this, but we went to Greece, and lo and behold, the day that we get there, the weather is miserable, rainy.
And cold.
Very, very cold.
And we did not pack for that kind of weather.
No.
So it was exceptionally uncomfortable. Yeah, so I'm just so grateful for the warmth and the sunshine, and I'm not ready to go away from it. So selfishly, I'm happy that we're home. And I think come August, when I've had enough of the heat, would be a great time to go to Canada.
It'll give us a lot more time to enjoy family, friends. The weather will be better, and we'll be more rested by that time.
Yeah, it's been wild. So upon our last episode that we put out, I was getting ready to enter Bufo facilitator training, which was something that I have been very called to do since the first time I sat with this medicine about 3 years ago. I knew that the call was there, and I knew that someday down the road it would be a big part of my life, but I didn't know when. And then through a very wild series of circumstances, if you have been following me on Instagram for the last few years, you would know that I've been on kind of a very open-ended journey. And in a radical way, it began when I sat in ayahuasca. And so throughout my journey to really open myself and, my family, we as a whole just didn't know where to place ourselves. I went into Bufo facilitator training, which maybe we can dive into that a little bit more later. But I went into this training, which is a 2-week immersive program where you're developing a relationship with the medicine by sitting all day, every day with this medicine and learning how to develop a trusting relationship with the medicine so that you can work with it. And I knew that going into this training was going to be a massively transformative experience for myself, but also within our relationship and for our family as a whole. And I had no idea how that was going to look. But that for me was such a huge part of the training. Was like, I have been following the call of this medicine for almost 3 years now, since the first time I sat in it, and have made such radical changes in my life as an answer to this calling that I didn't fully understand, and I didn't know where it was taking me. And in a lot of ways, I still don't know. I feel like we're still at the beginning.
Yeah.
But that's also something I feel like I understand now through the work with this medicine is that we're literally always at the beginning.
Yep.
We always get to start right now. And so whatever is in store for me, this medicine and I are co-creating because of the relationship that I developed with it when I was in the training program. But the actual like day in and day out experience of being in the program was incredibly challenging. Just the experience of being inside of this container with others and others that you don't know, like no previous connection or affiliation with these human beings. And then you dive into this energetic space of unity that is an indescribable experience. But in that space, I was able to, through my understanding of the way this medicine works, that everything is an experience being created for us, by us,
Yep.
able to navigate that training as a play being put on in front of me. And the entire play is orchestrated for me. So what is it telling me? And so that was 2 weeks of just like mind-blowing, introspective, like oscillating between the microcosm and the macrocosm and being in both spaces at once.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And no matter how you put it, no matter how much preparation you put in to getting yourself to that point, to start the training, to enter the medicine on a whole new level, you truly didn't know what you're getting into. And when you enter that space in the small little bunkhouse and you're around these new people you know very little about, but you're going to share so much energy with them, and you're going to enter the medicine space. And it was a lot. I entered that training with you just in a way of support. And then, lo and behold, I end up, now I'm a facilitator too.
We get I think we were probably about 4 or 5 days in when we both realized that you were doing the training. I kind of knew. Like, I knew from the beginning you were going to do the training unofficially, but I didn't know how much you were, like, how involved you were going to become.
Well, it felt weird not, the first couple days I was a little bit distant from it. I was just kind of being there as a support, like I mentioned, but then I just fell into the medicine. The medicine called me. I started building a relationship with it. I started sitting in all the classes at night and just becoming part of that energetic space with everybody. I just felt like I belonged there, and I wanted to continue my journey with it.
Yeah.
And just learn as much as I can, because I love to learn. And not only did it teach me so much about the medicine, but it taught me a lot about myself. And I'll tell you what, it was life-changing, and it continues to be. Like you say, you start from the beginning pretty much each time you enter the medicine. And I believe that every time that I do, sit with Bufo, something else just changes. Life recreates, begins, and you're on this new timeline, as we keep saying, seems to be occurring at this moment. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah, I keep seeing on Instagram so many people are talking about like a shift in timeline changing and all of this, which it always happens around a major like planetary event. Yeah. I think there's some planets moving throughout the sky and changing positions, which from an astrological perspective it changes the influence of the energy that based like from that planet's position, right?
Of course.
So like the way the moon moves and goes through its cycle and moves the water with it. We have these experiences when the planetary bodies are moving, but it always aligns with people feeling something. And I've been like, I don't know a lot about astrology and all of that stuff. I have sort of like a a surface level interest. I mean, I'm very interested. I just don't have a lot of time for it. So, but as an experiment, I study enough to have like a basic understanding of what the present influences are supposed to be connected to.
Of course.
And then look at the way that the people around me and how I am experiencing our own realities all at the same time, you know. And it made me reflect on I remember like all throughout life I remember people saying, you know, there are just these times where it's like everybody's going through it. Have you ever had those times of life where it's like, man, everybody I know is going through it right now?
Yeah, and I felt it quite recently. I know there's a lot going on with our surroundings, with politics or whatever, oil.
Well, it's all reflected in
Yeah.
the world too, right? So like you get this strong influx of energy, and it's like we're all going to experience a spike of it.
Well,
And then the world stage is going to reflect a reason to.
Well, first we got a lot of energy in this house with the kiddos and ourselves, and we can definitely recognize it when all five of us or a couple are just going through something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've definitely been feeling it down at the office.
Mm-hmm.
The energy within the office has not been the easiest lately. I think the ups and downs in oil and supply chain and such have just been consistently up and down. So I'm feeling the energy shift weekly, it seems. I feel like when I get into the office, I can tell that things are just going to be off for the whole week. But then the next week things might just be, you know, the usual. But I've definitely, since she came into my life, I can tell you I pay more attention to energy, and especially with this medicine, I pay extra attention to energy because I want to surround myself with the best energetic, you know, beings. And it seems that lately it's just been a lot up and down with a lot of energy moving.
Yeah, so we're all experiencing some aspect of transition in our lives, but it affects us all differently. So, yeah, it's interesting to watch. So, we know how to recognize the experience of a shift happening in our lives, which is what we are now calling a timeline jump or transition or whatever. But certain moments and events exist within our lives that change things, change the trajectory or the experience or the participants in your life or the environment, whatever.
Yep.
Something changes it, and that is a moment of transition. So with that understanding, we go into this medicine. And when you are working with these sacred medicines, you carry an intention, and the intention that you take into your connection with the medicine has an absolute impact on the experience you're going to have, but then also how you experience your transition from, we could say, integrating the medicine in the experience. But it's really not like with Bufo especially, it's not like about integrating the experience. It's about setting a clear and purposeful intention and then going into the medicine and working with it. And then as you move through that space, carrying the intention and seeing how that transition occurs. But as we're in training and we're going into ceremonies multiple times a day and carrying intentions, we're feeling them work through in just insane ways. So it did feel like a big, giant, blurry transition space over like that whole month.
Yeah, it was. And it was really difficult to really dial in your intentions, like you were saying, because there was so much moving around and you're consumed by so much of the busyness of trying to focus on your own relationship with the medicine that for me, like daily going into the medicine, it was difficult to set that intention. But for me, it was all the busyness and around all the learning and all that, it was that moment where I walked from the house down to the ceremony space. That gave me 3 minutes to really focus
Yeah.
on my intention.
That's the same as like preparing mentally as I'd walk down to the space. So
That was the most important part for me. And you still, when we serve, and I have people come up and ask, like, how do you set your intention? And I get, like, when people have mentioned it to me, it's been hard to figure it out during the week. But that's life. Life is busy right now. We have a lot of distractions and a lot of going on. And I just tell them that when you get to USNT and you start your walk down to the ceremony space, that gives you an opportunity to really dial in your intention. That it's beautiful. You're walking in the sunshine or in nature, and you don't have anything to focus on except for walking into that ceremony space. And with that, and from what I've learned through all the busyness of training and how chaotic it might have seemed, giving myself that time during that walk, I entered that ceremony space with a consistent intention that I was hoping for.
well, good.
It was amazing.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so I didn't fully mean to dive down the Bufo toad hole. But that was, after our last podcast episode, I was preparing to go into that training, which I had a lot of fears because I did not yet have the relationship that I have with this medicine now, and I didn't have, obviously, that was the point of going.
Yeah.
And so leading up to it I was just going through it in a big way. And then we got out of training, got our feet back on the ground a little bit, and went to Greece.
Yeah, we did.
So we took a nice fun trip that ended up being one of the most challenging travel experiences either of us has had.
It was a bucket list item for some travel, for myself definitely, and I know we've talked about this beautiful trip to the islands and hopping around on ferries and boats and all these things, and it got exciting, and especially coming out of training and transitioning our life into this new journey. What better way to celebrate than go on this beautiful trip to Greece, which it's in the Mediterranean. We hear so much positive about the beauty, but we get there and it's raining. Our flight got delayed, and it took off quite a bit later. So the first night we get to Athens, we missed our check-in. So we had to
scramble and find a new bed that night.
But at the end of it all, like, we had a beautiful, beautiful trip. And we experienced something that proved to be, challenging, but we made the most of it. We celebrated your birthday. Yay. We spoiled family and the loved ones. And it was great. It was incredible to share that with you.
Yeah, it was an amazing trip. And then we came home and you started to share with me how it was, even though it was very challenging, it was a good experience for you to work through some things from your own past of having challenging travels with a partner.
Yes.
Which I totally understand. But then I was like, oh my gosh, this all makes sense. Why literally everything that you could, like, without it being emergent, we experienced everything that could make a trip crummy. We had a massive delay getting out of the country. We arrived late. We couldn't get into our hotel. The weather was uncharacteristically cold and wet. We weren't prepared for it. We both got food poisoning at separate times throughout the trip. Like, it was like, whatever else, like, what kind of major inconvenience can I throw at you? But in spite of all of it, we still had a great time, and we made the best of the shitty parts.
Shitty indeed.
And, I got some cute sweaters
Yeah.
to bring home that I would not have otherwise brought home from Greece,
Mhm.
So we made the best of it all. And then when you shared that with me, that it was like you needed to experience those things, and I could see how from in your reality, you were creating these experiences so that you would know how we would navigate them together.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay. Because I have bad travel luck with flights being delayed and canceled. And that part was on me for sure. I don't know what it is,
I'm used to it now.
but that part's on me. But then I was like, the rest, like, I never get sick. I mean, I got sick when we were in Europe last year. So.
In Sedona.
And I got sick in Sedona.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I only get sick mostly with you.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, I was just like, these kinds of things don't happen to me. Once the plane finally takes off, like it's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool through, our ability to be open with one another of how we're navigating our relationship as we're getting into it more and more, and the things that we have experienced in the past and that they have, like just being able to share an awareness that our past has an influence, and that we're actively working through those things.
Yeah, deep down inside, you still carry things moving forward in life. And you start to address those things when they come up. It's easy to sit back and think that, I've moved on from such challenging times in my life, but you never truly know it until you are confronted with it.
Mm-hmm.
And during this trip, we were confronted with a lot of challenges, and we worked through them as best as we could. We listened
Yeah.
to each other, and we gave each other the opportunity to still do what they needed to do, which was best for them. When you weren't feeling well, you still allowed me to, do what I needed to do to enjoy the trip.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. In my past, I wouldn't get to do that. So seeing you, still be open to me, as much as I didn't always want to leave because I was, concerned, and I seen what you're going through.
No, I had food poisoning.
Yeah.
You can go.
But, we're in Naxos, and you were taking up some bed space, and I just still got to go do what I needed to do for myself, to see the island, to enjoy some meals, and we worked through it as best as we can. And it was a way for us, it was a way for me to see how our dynamic works so well. We listen, we're compassionate, we're understanding, and our teamwork is, flawless, always.
Yeah. So go us. Hopefully you don't need to experience any more of that in the future.
If we do,
We
we
gotta
do.
figure out what is my deal with the flight delays and cancellations.
Yeah, once we get out of the airport, after we figure that out, then we know that you can't eat seafood on trips too. Seafood is a
Yes.
no-no.
Yeah. I should know better, honestly.
Well, what would
Well,
you
no,
think?
no, no. In Greece,
Come on.
yeah, that's true. In Greece, you should definitely be able to eat seafood. It was the mussels in Sedona that was a not very wise decision.
But the restaurant we ate at for your birthday, and you would think that, some smoked salmon and some sea bass would be safe, but,
Yeah, but someone actually pointed out to me that salmon's not really local to Greece.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's probably what did me in.
Yeah, that would make sense. I gotcha.
Okay, so then we came home from Greece and we remodeled a bathroom, and then we've been just balancing this medicine space, which has taken up quite a bit of time. We're in ceremony every weekend, and then sometimes hosting private ceremonies throughout the week, and sitting in medicine with people. So life's changed.
Life's definitely changed. I went from being focused on watching sports on the weekend to now sitting in ceremony, and that's the exciting and beautiful part of my weekends now. Is each Saturday morning we get to enjoy the medicine space, and then we'll had the few privates as well. We sat in peyote. Not only did
Times.
we renovate a bathroom one week, but we also sat in peyote that same week with a house full of people. So we keep things entertaining here always. There's always something on the go.
And I've been thinking, my poor little podcast. I've been neglecting it.
Yeah.
So, and as much fun as it can be to sit and talk about our own lives and all of that, well, it's not really the point of our time here.
Nope.
Something that I was noticing within myself throughout these last few days of this transition, whatever's happening in the cosmos or reality or life or just whatever right now, I think we're in one of those moments where everybody's just kind of going through something. And it's probably more internal than external, right? Like maybe not everyone is getting a flat tire right now, but I think everyone is turning over a new leaf in some capacity, And for me, it, as always, like years, my work has been in regards to my relationship with my mom and how much I have struggled through that. Oh, and we went to Tennessee. I forgot about that.
Right after Greece.
Came home from Greece and went to Tennessee, and that was the trip that was challenging for me because I knew that I was going to see my family. We went back for my youngest brother's high school graduation. And I have an estranged relationship with my parents and a very strained relationship with all of my siblings since also those of you who follow me on Instagram may remember my earth-shattering trip to Bali a couple of years ago where I, decided to take some time for myself and just get away from everything that I am and have been and all of my responsibilities and identities and roles and just everything and just take a freaking breather for a minute because that's not something I've done in my life. And I mean like by myself without my kids. So when I went and did that and had this incredible experience traveling by myself for a couple months, I also had the most, I definitely had the most difficult experience of my life having sexual abuse memories from my childhood surface. And I think it was a matter of being in the space where there was nothing else, that allowed these things to come up. And also working with Dulce. That's where she and I met. And so I experienced all of these memories come back. And from that, this entire nuclear bomb went off within my family. So to sum up that experience for anybody who was not following me on Instagram a couple years ago, I go on this I guess kind of my eat, pray, love thing. I just wanted to go to Bali and chill and explore by myself. And I did yoga teacher training, and it was this amazing and beautiful experience. But then I had these memories surface, and so I reached out to. So it was my mother's ex-stepmother, and kind of asked her some questions, and she validated everything to me because I, of course, was questioning myself about everything. And then I reached out to my siblings, which none of us are none of us were surprised about it. It's not like shocking news. My mom's father is a creep and has been accused by many people of being such, and even has an arrest record, so who was surprised? Only my mother. And I wasn't going to say anything to either of my parents before I came back to the States, but then in a sick and shocking turn of events, he commented on a video that I had posted in Bali, and he commented, "Love that ass."
Wow.
And I screenshotted the comment and I texted it to my mom, and she texted back, "OMG, I'm so sorry." And that's when the floodgates burst open.
You'd think there would be more to that, but...
Well, so that was when every, atomic bomb and Watergate and every, traumatic or scandalous event that has occurred in the world culminated within inside of my family.
Yeah.
And I felt like I walked around with my ears ringing for a few months after that. And I came home from Bali, and I had no idea how to put my feet back on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was definitely the hardest part of it all, and I realized in that space that as a child, I built my entire sense of security and stability on my mom. And even though we had not had a good relationship for many years, I realized that my sense of stability and security was she was still the foundation of that. And when she denied everything, she never picked up the phone and called me. She didn't even really talk to me over text. She just said, "I don't see how that could have happened," and then just stopped interacting with me. And so I was left to navigate all of this, and my siblings were also trying to navigate it in their own way, which left a lot of them incapable of being supportive.
Yeah.
And so when I came home and I realized that everything I had built my sense of identity and safety in the world and everything on no longer existed, I went through, it was not even a dark night of the soul. It was I had to truly die unto myself.
Mm-hmm.
The identity that I had as a human being, being a mother, I learned from being a daughter. And I learned being a woman by being a daughter. And I learned all of these things about how I'm supposed to exist in the world from being the daughter of someone who, when I needed something, was no longer there.
That can't be easy. And obviously listening to you, discuss this story, you shared a lot of it with me over, this past year and a half of us getting to know each other. And it just seemed like, you made that choice to go to Bali to do a lot for yourself. And it seemed like that was an opportunity for your mind to open up in a way that allowed you to, navigate a few challenges that you went through in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
And with that, it gave you the space to deal with it. And you had somebody there for you that helped you navigate that stuff. And it was just a way to, kick all this off and try to figure out the life moving forward with your family.
Yeah.
And it's, this trip to Tennessee was probably the first time y'all have been together in such a very long time. And Nobody really went into it talking about what happened during that time in Bali and all the things coming forward. So you were expected to go into this, graduation for your brother, get all of your family together without really even discussing it and try to make things work. And it was
Well, I don't think anybody expected it
well,
of me or anyone. I think everybody was expecting
just to get swept under the rug and not worry about it.
Yeah, it was going to be an emotional shit show.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to go on one of my Megan rambles, but I did anyway, so whatever. But yeah, so going to Tennessee, about right at 2 years after that experience, and the dust had all settled, nothing changed. There was never a conversation. There was never any interaction. Everybody just moved on with their own lives. And I spent the last 2 years moving on and rebuilding my life. And that's where, I've been through a lot of healing. I've had a lot of the dark night of the soul thing. I've had a lot of peeling back the layers. And all of that was before this even came up. And coming back to Tennessee, the version of myself that I was prior to the experiences in Bali would have been extremely, I would have amped myself up, to be prepared to defend myself.
Yep.
And so I would have walked in there on the defense anyway. And I would have unknowingly been looking for the conflict, because it was valid that I had to always defend myself.
Of course.
But I didn't realize all of that. And so the version of me who went on the other side of this experience and who had rebuilt herself without that same foundation of security, my family of origin evaporated.
Yeah.
And so coming back to them, I was able to bring a very different perspective. And with my siblings, we'll navigate it. That's always, of course. And everybody will just take their own time, and it'll be life,
Yeah.
However we choose to navigate it, we'll look back and be like, well, that's how life went. That's
absolutely.
But with my parents, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this isn't the right way to see it, but it's the way that I choose to see it, is as the parent, you are always primarily responsible for the relationship with your child.
Yeah.
As a parent, the quality of my relationship with my child is my responsibility first.
Okay.
That is not to say that, your child cannot create conflict that you are incapable of resolving, which then damages the relationship. But if the parent is not making the effort first, always initiating where any type of resolution or healing needs to be done, that's my job as a parent.
Of course.
Right? And so I understand that both of my parents are deeply unhealed people, and that the expectations can really only be so much. But in this circumstance where you have to have your head buried a mile under the sand to be able to deny it, I'm not going to be the one to do the parent's job here anymore.
No, you shouldn't be at all.
And so
you're a parent, and you have your own responsibility with your children to be that role. And that's where you should put your, priorities towards. It's their responsibility to build that relationship with you again. And if they're not going to put in that effort, like we've seen in Tennessee, then, they're lost. That's their loss.
Yeah.
You're going to do what you have to do with your kids, and that's what you've done. You've built that relationship, and you've taught me how to build that relationship too. What's been beautiful is me coming into this amazing family, and you've guided me down that. You've showed me this is what, it's going to take for me to build this relationship with your children, is I have to put the effort forward. I have to put myself out there. And we've seen, them go through some things, and I've had to really open myself up to them, because they're not going to come to me, and nor should they have to, unless they feel like I have opened myself up to them. Because it's been really good. Like, obviously, your oldest has navigated a few things as of late, and it's been beautiful just to, be there for him and support for him. And I learned from you that I have to, give that opportunity to him. And once I let him drive my truck and let him talk, I didn't get to say too much. For about an hour and a half, he did all the talking, but it was great. He just let it all out there.
You it's really not that difficult. You just gotta hold space and let them feel a little something. And right now, driving makes them feel excited. So,
but wouldn't that be something if your parents came up to you and just opened that space up to you, right?
Yeah.
That would make a big difference in moving forward, but they don't.
And the trip to Tennessee helped me understand that if it is, okay, let me back up. I can't say that it will never happen, but I am no longer choosing to put energy into that little space of hope that it will happen. I had to accept that maybe it doesn't. I can't say what percentage or, statistical likelihood of how the outcome will be. I don't care. All I know is that if it never happens, I can be at peace with that.
Of course.
And that's what going there and seeing the way that my mom chose to interact with me helped me find that space of acceptance and thereby peace. And that's been, a month now since we went?
Yep.
And recently, as I'm experiencing this collective transition right now, I was reflecting on the part of myself that's still grieving that loss, right? And I think that'll always remain. But for me, growing up, I was so blessed to have a lot of grandparents when I was born. My mom's line, my great-great-grandmother didn't pass until I was in high school.
It's pretty rare.
Everybody had babies young. But I got to know in person now, 6 generations of my maternal line, including myself and my daughter. And I can see now what a huge blessing that was, that I got to personally know these women, because it does help me understand my mom, and that she's coming from her own place of limitation as well. And do I believe that she's well into the phase of her life where she is accountable for her own presence and the way she chooses to show up? Yes, of course. And so I accept that. But I was thinking, with growing up with having all of these grandmothers in my life, and my mom she was on and off raised by her grandmother, and she had a very big influence. And that's my great grandmother is why we moved to Florida when I was a teenager, when they moved down there. I feel sad for the fact that my daughter does not have grandmothers. I had what was that? 3 grandmothers on my mom's side and 2 grandmothers on my dad's side. And she doesn't have any that choose to show up for her.
And she's such a loving person, and you can see when she's surrounded by, people, she thrives. And I can only imagine what she would be like if she was with grandparents and being surrounded by that, because
She loves love.
Yeah, she does.
So much, and showing love. And I mean, it sounds really sad the way, when we say it like this, but it's just the fact of the matter. So that's part of my own healing process, because they don't have grandparents that choose to participate actively in their lives, but they do have a tremendous amount of people in our community, in our lives, that love them.
Absolutely.
And just, I mean, we have friends that come over here and sit and play games and have conversations and help them do the dishes after dinner, and pay them way too much to do yard work at their houses. And they're not grandparents, but they're family.
That's a big part of all this, and I think that's why, as much as Tennessee could have proved to be challenging, it wasn't because of what we've created here. We have created, starting with, our local tavern and the people we surround ourselves with there, which we've met such an incredible family, to the medicine space. And through all this, we have a beautiful community here. We have people that make us feel whole. We have people who will support us, who are there for us, who would break their backs for us if we ever needed them. And it's such a rewarding feeling, because we've put so much effort into creating something like this. Then when we chose this place that we live, it's all come together.
Yeah.
And with that, like you said, they come over, they spend some time with us. We have beautiful family dinners usually on a Sunday night, and we get joined by our friends. And I look back at Christmas time when my mom came down to visit us and got to see Scarlett in there baking cinnamon buns with her, and just seeing her with my mom and getting to experience that is just, that's what we have now. We have all this opportunity for.
Well, that's where I was going next, is that we have these friends around us, and we have these amazing women who have taken us in, one being your mom, and especially Kimbra, who was our neighbor in Plano, and she adopted us before I was ready to let her, because that woman show up at my house on a Saturday morning with all this stuff to make breakfast for the kids, and I'm like, this is really weird. What is she doing here? Yeah. But I just didn't know how to receive in that way.
Of course.
And she did motherly things, and she was always looking out for my kids and checking in on us. And when I left Tennessee and came to Texas, I've never heard from my mom again. Yeah. Like, in those years, I think a year and a half prior to going to Bali, I heard from her 2 times. Wow. And so I was very standoffish to her in the beginning, but she just kept showing up, and she just kept being loving, and I saw how much my kids lit up when she'd be around and dote on them. And I remembered the value of having other people in your lives besides your parents who give you kindness and love and affection. And so even though the circumstances are what they are, and I was having this moment of just feeling a little grief over the reality of healing a generational trauma, is that when you change things, everybody is talking about doing their healing work and being cycle breakers and, doing all of these things. But the reality is that, for better or worse, what you came from is what you know. Yep. And when you are doing something different, it is unknown territory. And if the trauma that you're healing is specifically related to your lineage, then there's a pretty good possibility that you're navigating that on your own.
Yep.
And that, even as someone who has a tremendous amount of support, and because I have been very intentional with the connections I have in my life, and how I make decisions and all of that, we have found ourselves in this space with our people. And so, in spite of having that, I'm still a human.
Of course.
And I'm still experiencing the same grief. And I think that's an important thing to note, because we so often think that once I get through this process of healing this thing or letting this thing go or whatever, and I create the space and I can call in whatever's better to take it, the whole thing that you do in healing, everybody's doing it, but we think that means that it will just be better, and things will be happy go rainbows, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot more happy go rainbows, but you're still a human carrying this experience. And I find that it's important to not carry an expectation of how you navigate that experience, as far as like time, or if I feel the need to cry over it, then I allow myself to cry over it. Yep. How long will that last? Who knows? Maybe forever, because I'm still a human.
Absolutely.
And as I go through these experiences, and I experience more with my children as they're changing, and I'm reflecting on how different the generational experience is now, primarily in really good ways.
Yep.
But of course there's the loss of that connection. But I think that really is such a core aspect of why the new tribe, because there are so many of us who are navigating these experiences. While I was in Tennessee, I was able to have lunch with one of my girlfriends who was sharing with me the experience that they've been having with their parents, she and her husband. And a lot of our generation is going through some upheaval with their lineage, their families, their parents and grandparents. And so I know that I'm not alone in it, and it's not unique. But it is really, really hard to know where you go next.
Yeah, I think with our lineage and the parents and the grandparents before us, we're learning that their expectations are a lot different. And you mentioned it just a little bit ago, just people who are going through this healing and navigating, things moving forward in life. One thing we have to respect is, as much as we put the work in, we have to understand that it's not always just going to be rainbows, and we're not going to be completely done. As much as you feel like you can put a lot of work in, and you feel like you got through it, you got through the storm or the mud, or however you want to clarify it, you have to respect the fact that you're still going to have to work through things. And that's what you've, had to work through with going to Tennessee. And you'll continue to work through that. This is part of our lives. This is part of our lineage. And, we're fortunate enough to surround ourselves with some great people, as we mentioned before, but we still have work to put in. We still have to allow our minds to surrender to the fact that we have been put through a lot in our lives.
Yeah.
We have. And when things pop up, they may be uncomfortable, but that's okay. We have put in the work, and it's putting ourselves in a situation where we can deal with things better. And ultimately, it's up to us to deal with things the way we feel are appropriate for ourselves. And that's what comes with, taking the time to heal. And for myself, a lot of the stuff that I've had to navigate, I've become understanding of myself. And there's going to be, a chink in the armor. There's going to be moments where I'm going to feel vulnerable to experiences and trauma in my life. But I surrender to it, and I allow it to enter, and I work with it. And I don't get frustrated, or I don't try to put it on anybody else. I just work through things as best as I can. And I seen you do this recently within Tennessee, and you did extremely well. You really did. You held yourself together so beautifully. You enjoyed the time, because we were there ultimately for your brother, and we had an amazing time. And you got to see some friends, and it was great. And from everything I've learned about you and all the work that you've done, you did so well.
Thanks, babe. So that's why, for me, the new tribe. Maybe every episode is just going to be another facet of why the new tribe. I've been in that place where you don't know where to go. Like, how do you build a life with no foundation? And so then how do you build a foundation, right? Because that's what family is.
Yep.
You are born into an established community of people that has an existing foundation. I'm not saying that, I was born into one that had a really messed up foundation. They're not always great. Sometimes you get lucky, but it's always something. Like,
Of course. Yeah.
being reborn to yourself and having to build the foundation, it was the most introspective I could be, because I'm a person that does things with intention.
Yeah.
And so every single brick that I laid, because my foundation is also my children's, right? And everything that I incorporated, rebuilding this foundation, I did so intentionally. And through that process, I came to know myself with even more clarity than I had already had. And I found that that's a pretty solid foundation.
Absolutely. It's incredible. It really is. And we're building a beautiful foundation out here.
And so I just wanted to share today those thoughts as my perspective of this collective transition we're going through. I think it has something to do with Neptune, and I think that there's something about like releasing old stuff. Someone who knows this better than I do, please clarify it for me. But I read it before the transition started. And maybe I'm looking for it. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about at all. And I just made up what this transition is. Regardless, no one come to me for an astrology reading. Regardless, the space that I have been experiencing has helped me to understand. Can
we
the
got chickens in the
camera
window?
see the window?
I bet you that chicken will be in the podcast.
If you're watching on the YouTube video, you get to see our little chickie that just climbed up in the window.
Yeah. It's one of our hens.
They like to just jump in the window and stare at us.
I think it's the flies.
Yeah, probably, but they do it when there's no flies out.
Just want to hang out.
Yeah. They're just peeking in.
They're eavesdropping on our beautiful conversation.
So, as I have been navigating my perspective of this collective transition that we're going through, and I find that I am continuing to deepen my journey through the mother wound, I realized that there is a definite level of grief that comes with the realization that when you heal a generational wound and you stop a cycle and you end something that had existed within the lineage, that in essence you end the lineage, not the bloodline, but epigenetically you are literally changing your lineage.
Yeah.
And in my case, that has called for separation from, which all of my grandmothers have passed at this point.
Yeah.
And my mom is the last matriarch, I guess, of our family. And I think that's one of the things that makes me feel sad as well. And then I realized, because I can't control her decisions and her choice to, work on her own lineage of her daughter and granddaughter who exist, I can't affect that in any way. And I have chosen to change it for my daughter, and therefore her experience is different because I value my grandparents so much and the role that they have played in my life. And it makes me sad that my kids don't have that in a blood way.
Yeah.
And so that's just part of it that I've realized, the deeper you get, even when you find peace, there's another layer to come to terms with.
Yeah. Something more to unpack.
Yeah, always.
But you've told me numerous times, it stops with Scarlett. You're
Yeah.
going to give Scarlett everything she needs to, start something new. Start something that you envision, that you wish you would have had.
Well,
right?
and that's it. It's just she is the most badass person. She's so confident. She's incredibly confident, but she's also incredibly kind.
Yes, she is.
And I always say that her superpower is that she becomes every person's favorite person.
Yeah.
Anyone who's met Scarlett, she's their favorite person.
Immediately.
Instant.
Everybody's looking for her.
Always. She can sell a muffin for $2 a dang muffin. I'm like, girl, you better capitalize on this right now.
Yeah, talk about she just sits back and has this absolute gift.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll just hold my back pocket, and I'm like, okay, I'll bake today, and then I'll just make $50 quickly.
Yeah.
It's quite something. She's got me wrapped around her finger now. She wants to go to work. I took her to work with me one day, and that was absolutely incredible. And became besties for sure.
Yeah.
And but she just has a way. She really does. She's very kind. She's very loving, but she's got an energy about her that will just make you jump up and okay, I'll do that with you. Let's go shopping.
Yeah, she always is looking to do something fun.
Yeah.
Not just entertain me fun, but
let's go jump off a cliff. Let's go dirt biking.
give me an anxiety attack fun.
If she had a bull in the backyard, she'd want a bull ride.
Yeah.
It's one of her dreams.
Well, that'd be cool if we had a mechanical bull in the backyard.
Yeah, it would be.
And looking at her and knowing how amazing she is, that's where I grieve that. She doesn't express it, but I can't say that she doesn't feel it. That would be out of bounds for me to say. But she doesn't express any feelings towards the lack of presence of her grandmother. So I think that's just an aspect of being the link in the genetic line that chose to break from tradition. So she's just such an incredible person, and it shines through her. Everyone that she meets can see it. And that's part of where I grieve the fact that I just can't believe that her grandmother doesn't know her.
Yeah.
But I think that's where those of us who choose to be the cycle breakers, I absorb that.
Mm-hmm.
She, to my understanding, to my knowledge, she's never indicated it yet. She may someday, but she's never indicated any particular grief over the lack of presence of her grandmother. And my hope is that she won't feel that, because I'm ending that cycle of a toxic dynamic between mother and daughter, or even grandmother and granddaughter, and so on. One of the things that I've always tried to make a point with her since she was born is to always tell her how good she is. Tell her how kind and brave and strong. And I used to just recite it with her every day, just throughout the day, and build her, because my experience was very different from that. And I could never imagine looking at her and telling her she's less than what she believes that she is in that moment. And so I always chose to tell her that she's even more than what she believes.
Well, it's showing for her age and where she's at, her confidence, like you said, and her power, and her like, she gets it. Your kids are so smart, and she is exceptionally smart at her age.
She is.
So everything that you've just mentioned that you used to share with her, it shows. For her being 11 years old, she's beyond her age. She really is. And she shows it. Like, she's so confident.
Yeah, she is.
She believes in herself.
She brought all of that with her.
Yeah.
I was just intentional not to take it away from her.
Yeah.
That was my goal. And of course, I have not done it perfectly. She and I have locked horns.
Absolutely.
A lot. I mean, we both have incredibly strong wills. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But never in an unloving way. Like, I've always tried, even when I have to like really go toe to toe with my kids to remind them of our dynamic, I always try to make sure it's done in a loving way, even if I have to get very firm.
Yeah.
And I think I'm starting to see that she is modeling that, because she's just kind of getting to the age where she's not like fighting back, like with her brothers or whatever. She's more standing up for herself and communicating.
Absolutely.
And so this is like a newer development. And so, yeah, I think that in the end, even though I feel these moments of like, it stings and it's kind of shitty that I can't pick up the phone and call my mom when I am trying to figure out some part of life, or, you know, I need a little guidance or something. It's so worth it to see her thriving in the way that she is. That was not something that existed within our reality.
Well, it goes back to you building the foundation, right? Like, you have created something special, and all your kids and everybody in this household is thriving because you've put together all the, the bricks for this foundation that you've built, and it'll continue to go that way because you've put in the work, and it's beautiful, and it's such a sight to see. It really is. And
so if you are also a cycle breaker, a generational trauma healer, if you are standing in front of the train holding it back in order to allow your kids to not get run over by the whatever bullshit flood is in your own bloodline, just know that there's so much value in what you're doing. And the moments that we continue to grieve, we're doing so on behalf of our children and our grandchildren, so they don't have to. And I know this does not mean that everybody's going to live perfect lives because we've healed all of our problems and we just move on. But it means that they get to navigate with more ease.
They do.
They get to experience things more intentionally. And they get to do so with genuine, unconditional love and support. And I know for myself, I'm like, I am not in any hurry, but I'm so excited to see who my children continue to become and what they're able to accomplish in their lives where they're already on like even ground,
Yeah.
if not maybe like a step up versus those of us who had to like climb out of the hole first.
Absolutely. I think it's a big reflection of, everything that you've done for them. I think they are an even ground or a step ahead. Definitely. They don't have to navigate a few things that we did, when we were raised. And that's good. That's really good for them. You've put in the work and they're going to thrive in it. I think it's beautiful to see. And at the end of it, I'm excited to see where they go to. I think we talk about this quite frequently. I think these kids are going to be rock stars. I really do. And they have so much passion towards everything that they do that whatever they set their minds to, it's going to be wonderful to see.
Scarlett has it her way. She's going to be Sheevel Knievel.
She wants to be a professional bull rider, own a jiu-jitsu gym,
And a dirt bike
and be
rider.
a professional dirt bike rider. So she'll be living.
Yeah. She makes me nervous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gavin's already getting his private pilot's license.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really good idea until I realized that I've got to not only figure out how to get comfortable with him driving, I also now have to get comfortable with him flying because he'll be flying solo before the year's over, I'm sure.
So you have to navigate that at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
I love the way that I just do these things. I encouraged him to get the pilot's license.
Yeah,
Dang it.
I gotcha. That was his birthday gift, was to get him up in a plane. So it's exciting times. You got to go up with a ride with him, and you were practicing emergency landings. So you went got thrust right into that.
Yeah, that was scary. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up, and I just want to say to anyone out there who is also doing this work, you are not alone, and thank you, because the children that you are raising, that you are doing all of this work within yourself for, are the peers who are going to be living in the world amongst my children. And so from one parent to another, thank you for doing this hard work for our children and our future, because this is why we're all doing this. We're all called to some version of healing something that came before us. And for those of us who are doing it for our kids, thank you. You have anything else to add, babe?
I couldn't agree more. I think all the work we put into our family dynamic and the time with our kids are extremely important. But also it's the big part of this too is building community. We see this over and over again. It's a recurring theme. Like the blue zones is community, such an important part of life. And I can't say enough to how it feels to be part of something beautiful here with the space we've created through the medicine space and our neighbors and all our friends where we live. Building this community has felt so rewarding, and I wish that to everybody. I think everybody should experience a beautiful community. I really do. And get out there, meet some people, keep your family close, have some Sunday night dinners. There's nothing more important than getting in the kitchen and cooking some food and, sharing that with a wonderful family. And that's something we definitely have our eyes set on to do weekly. So,
And if anyone has any questions or interest of coming to visit the community that we have established here, we're organizing. So we've been existing more in the real life world than in the virtual world lately, especially through the medicine. So if anyone has any interest in coming to sit in ceremony with us, Zach will have all the contact information in the show notes. Is that what
The
you
show
say?
notes, absolutely.
Okay. And yeah, we'd love to have you. We're getting into doing some yoga classes. Finally,
Yeah.
going to put that yoga certification to work. And now my new nutritional herbalist
Yes.
certification. I'm going to be teaching some nutrition classes, which I'm super excited about. That is definitely way more my passion. I love yoga, but I also hate it every time I do it. I love hate thing. But yeah, and that's where our focus has been, and it has always been with the intention of creating more space in the real world to connect in.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be around the Houston area and you're interested, shoot us a message.
Yep.
And if you have any interest in finding yourself in the Houston area, particularly to come sit in ceremony, let us know. And if not, I hope you go with love. Bye, guys.